modesty, stripped bare, body image, dress code.
It's very common for little girls, and when I was in school I wore bows, just like if you wear ribbons, like navy ribbon in my ponytail. And I remember thinking at one stage, I'm not a present and I don't want to be wrapped. And so I think that for me I was going through this feminist, I don't know, changing of how I was thinking, but part of what helped me to get there was that conversations about Judaism and laws of modesty were key for me to be able to critique this system that oppresses women.
The way I view my body is that I want people to respect me for who I am, for my values, for my characteristics, for what I represent as a person. So I want people to be able to look beyond just what I'm wearing and the way that I look. I don't want people to just look at my body and judge me for that. I want to show people that I have so much more to represent. My body is not for anyone else to look at. It's not for the pleasure of others. It's because I value myself for who I am. I'm proud of myself, and I want to make sure to present myself as a dignified human being.
There is no such thing in terms of the body image space that relates to a number on a scale or the size of clothes we wear. Our life needs to be dictated by health principles, meaning we eat enough food to nourish us, we move enough so that our bodies are healthy. Therefore, the way I navigate my body and the way I understand my body and what its obligations are in the world is that I eat and I move to nourish my body in the right way.
As a teenager, I became much more interested in Judaism and as an observant practicing Jew. And one of the things that attracted me to it was you weren't being judged by your bra size and your waistline. You know, you had a sort of expected mode of dress, and that was how it was, and you were covered and you weren't exposing your body, and you weren't sort of putting yourself out there in a way that at the time as a teen I felt fairly uncomfortable with and fairly conscious about, and, you know, my body was changing and it was really difficult, and this was actually a framework for me to kind of put it safely, not at the forefront. And it's funny what Chaya was saying, a lot of it resonates with me in terms of I think it shouldn't be about image, it should be about actions, and people should be sort of seen and judged and noticed for what they do and not for what they dress. And all this emphasis on makeup and clothes and shoes and all this effort on social media and just I think the pressure that people have today to look a certain way, whether it's men or women, is a crazy waste of energy.
If you learn a page a day, the time it takes 7.5 years to learn, that's over 2,500 pages, and maybe like 6 lines of that is devoted to how women are meant to dress. And the word erva means nakedness or uncovered flesh, and that comes in the context of what context men are allowed to pray in. And they're only allowed to pray in front of, well, they're not allowed to pray in front of things that might distract them. So one of those things is nakedness of women or uncovered flesh. Another one of those things is like sewage or bad smells that might distract them.
Not that we can associate what Miriam referred to, the connection between erva and garbage. Quite the contrary, that erva, or the parts of a woman that are covered, are so holy that they're reserved for herself to decide when she wants to reveal them.
We are really obsessed with talking about the way that women dress now in Jewish context. And like a few lines versus like 2,500 pages is not a lot. But now we talk about it a lot.
There were IKEA catalogs published last year that no women were in the catalog. The entire catalog was male only because it might, it was marketed at the Gourarie community, and it didn't want to, put anybody in an uncomfortable place. And the easiest way to do that was to eradicate women so that there wouldn't be any issues around that. So as bad as that is, in terms of like that's a public company and that's their choice and that's their marketing strategy, which, I think could be boycotted by women, but that's another story. But, what's also happening is that sends a trend in Israel that it's okay to then take women off public billboards, cross their images out, they get vandalized in Haredi communities. And that means that, more and more marketers will then go towards that trend of taking women away. And I think that's hugely problematic in terms of messaging to women, to men, to young girls, and to young boys. And what does that mean, not to have yourself seen, not to be visible? And a step further than that is that it's then taken not just about the image and the dress, but about seeing women in the public eye. So IDF services where women are no longer allowed to sing or dance in public because that might upset the Haredi soldiers that are now serving in those units. And what does that mean for those women who are serving and their credibility and their legitimacy in the IDF and their essentially subservience to the nuance of these Gourarie soldiers, and they're being forced, they're not being asked, those decisions are being made on their behalf. And I think there's some really worrying trends of what, internally is a beautiful idea about humility and all the ideas that Chaya touched on, but that politically have much larger ramifications that are being abused, which are most noticeable in Israel, at least at this stage.
Maybe we need to find some balance of saying, yeah, we have women and let's use them for who they are and what they can contribute to the world, So not hide them away as if they don't exist, but not also just totally exploit a woman's body for advertising and things like that.
What I want to see in the conversation about tzniut is not about your relationship with other people. The conversation about tzniut, about modesty, about who you are as a person, it should be about your relationship with yourself and your relationship with God.
Halacha is made and interpreted until very recently by all male audiences, and they see things through a certain prism. And we talked today about a woman's perspective and how you see things differently.
Rabbis have the permission and have the authority to interpret halacha, and Jewish people are commanded to follow the way that they interpret it. So when we say it's men deciding or men making these rules, it's not men like you and me, regular, ordinary people, men with their own agendas deciding how to oppress women.
I think that if you're talking just to girls about body image stuff, it shouldn't be rabbis, it should be women.
The way that Maharats, like Orthodox women, rabbinical leaders, first came about was through their role in helping women with menstruation and were they ready to go to mikveh and not. And I think that that's interesting that there was a recognition that this was a field that men were not experts in, and actually there was a real benefit in having women in this field who knew what they were talking about, and that women were more comfortable coming to women. And that really paved the way to open the whole of rabbinic leadership in modern Orthodoxy, which is still a work in process.
Interested in the double standards that the religious community communicates to men and women. Obviously, Chaya, you'll be able to be more able to respond to this from the Chabad perspective, but I see a lot of Chabad practices differ between men and women in relation to tzniut. So Chabad rabbis will post their gym pictures on Facebook, but their wives would never be able to do that because tzniut dictates that's not modest. They'll go to Thailand on holiday, they'll be wearing shorts and a t-shirt, their wives will still be covered from head to toe, and obviously I follow laws of tzniut, I have a lot of respect for it. I don't have respect for disparity, and how tzniut is communicated as an issue for women. It's for women to cover their bodies, and men, they wear a kippah, they wear tzitzis, but it's not so connected with this idea of tzniut, and it's not a word that comes up in the male, that it's directed to men in the religious community enough or at all. And I was wondering, obviously, Ariana as well, to address the issue of that disparity and the double standard of what's imposed on women and the pressure that if we don't look a certain way, people won't see us as religious, people won't see us as respectful, and how that can be addressed, or if it is being addressed, and what the effect that has. And obviously, Sharon and Miriam, I'd love to hear your views as well.
But perhaps that's not appropriate. But again, I can't answer for what other people are doing. So it's difficult because, when you look at other people's standards and things like that. But I agree with you that there shouldn't be disparity, and that, again, if the approach is that it's about a way of life, it's about modesty, it's about acknowledging yourself in the presence of God, then it's for everyone. So there shouldn't be a difference.